AITA for canceling our move after my girlfriend defended messages from her ex? I'm Benjamin, 36, and until a few weeks ago, I thought Lena and I were doing the adult version of serious. We had been together a little over 2 years. Our moving boxes were stacked along the hallway. The lease packet was sitting on the kitchen counter, and I had a note on my phone tracking renter's insurance, utility transfers, furniture costs, and which coffee maker was supposed to survive the merge. That last item had become a running joke between us. Lena owned a sleek machine that took up half a counter and made coffee loud enough to wake the neighbors. Mine was a basic drip maker I had owned forever. Yours looks like it came free with a motel room, she had said while wrapping her mugs in newspaper. Mine has never demanded descaling tablets or emotional support. She laughed so hard she had to sit on one of the boxes. That was the Lena I fell in love with. She was funny, decisive, and capable of making ordinary errands feel like we were getting away with something. A grocery run could turn into a competition over the weirdest cereal box. A flat tire became an excuse to order greasy takeout and eat it on the curb while we waited for roadside assistance. Back then, I thought her confidence meant she knew what she wanted. Over time, I started realizing that her confidence had another side. When we disagreed, she rarely stayed with the actual issue. She turned the disagreement into a test of whether I was mature, secure, or emotionally evolved enough to accept her position. Caleb was the subject that brought that pattern out most clearly. He was Lena's ex. They had dated for about 3 years and had broken up more than a year before she met me. According to Lena, the relationship had ended because they wanted different things. There had been no dramatic betrayal, no restraining order, no screaming match in a parking lot. They had simply become better as friends. At first, I believed her. I was her boyfriend, not her parole officer. I had no interest in policing who she spoke to, and I wasn't going to demand that she erase every person she had ever dated. The first time Caleb bothered me was around midnight one Saturday. Lena and I were in bed, half watching a show neither of us cared about. Her phone was face up on the nightstand when a message appeared. I miss our talks. You always got me. Lena glanced at it, smiled slightly, and turned the phone over. I waited until the episode ended. Does he text you like that often? She looked at me as if I had asked whether the moon was following us. Like what? Like he misses being emotionally close to you. He had a bad week. That doesn't answer my question. She sighed and sat up. Adults can have history without turning it into drama. I'm not asking you to erase him. I'm asking why he gets your attention at midnight. He texted. I didn't summon him. Then she told me I was reading insecurity into a harmless message. I remember apologizing before we went to sleep. Not because I thought I was wrong, exactly, but because I didn't want to become the jealous boyfriend who treated every man as a threat. That apology set a bad precedent. Caleb's name started appearing in small places. Lena would mention that she was stressed about something, and I would find out Caleb had already heard the full story. Once, I picked her up after a rough family phone call. I asked what happened, and she said she wasn't ready to talk. I gave her space. The next morning, Caleb texted while we were eating breakfast. You handled your mom better than you think. I looked at Lena. You told him? I needed to process it with someone who understands the history. I was sitting next to you all night. And you were being supportive. This was different. Another time, his name appeared on a shared calendar reminder connected to our moving plans. The event was labeled storage measurements and included the dimensions of the new place's closets. When I asked why Caleb was attached to it, Lena said it was a sync mistake from an old calendar. Why would an old calendar have the closet dimensions of a place we haven't moved into? She stared at the screen for a second too long. I probably forwarded it accidentally. She deleted his name and kissed my cheek. See? Fixed. But it didn't feel fixed. The move itself had been Lena's idea at first, though I was fully on board by the time we started looking. Our leases ended close enough together that combining homes made sense. We spent weekends touring apartments, checking cabinet space, testing water pressure, and quietly judging other people's hallway decorations. When we found the place we wanted, I handled most of the logistics because I was better with deadlines. Lena picked the furniture layout and kept track of what we needed to sell or donate. I paid the application fees and a holding deposit. The paperwork stated that the holding deposit remained refundable until the lease was signed, minus a small processing charge. The moving truck was under my name. So were the pending electricity and internet transfers. I had requested a renter's insurance quote, but had not activated the policy. None of that felt unequal at the time. Lena had sent me a few transfers for her share of smaller costs, and we planned to settle the final numbers after signing. Then came the spare key argument. We were sitting on the floor eating pizza because the table had already been taken apart. Lena was sorting keys into little labeled bags. "One for you, one for me, and one emergency spare," she said. "My sister can hold the spare." Lena shook her head. "Maya lives too far away. Oh, and then, he travels too much." She didn't look at me when she added, "Caleb lives 10 minutes from the new place." I stopped chewing. "No." Her head came up. "No what?" "Your ex is not holding a key to our home. He's reliable." "That's not the point." "What is the point?" "The point is that I'm not comfortable with your ex having access to our place." She put her pizza down. "So now I need permission to choose who I trust?" "You can trust whoever you want. He still isn't getting a key. You don't get to make unilateral decisions." "Neither do you." She leaned back against the cabinet and crossed her arms. This is exactly the kind of controlling behavior I was worried would happen once we lived together. The accusation landed harder than it should have. I spent 20 minutes explaining that I wasn't trying to isolate her. I said Caleb could remain in her life, but he would not have a key, financial details, access codes, or a role in decisions about our shared home. That was my entire boundary. Lena treated it as if I had demanded that she block every man she knew. She eventually said, "Fine, no key." But the way she said it made me feel like I had won something ugly. 2 days later, her friend Priya sent me a message. "I've tried to stay out of this, but Lena shouldn't have to delete her past to make you comfortable." I read it twice. Delete her past? I typed 3 different replies and erased all of them. Finally, I wrote, "I'm not asking her to delete anyone. I asked that her ex not have a key to our home." Priya responded with a thumbs up that felt more dismissive than no response at all. When I asked Lena what she had told Priya, she shrugged. "She knows we've been fighting about Caleb." "Does she know what I actually asked?" "She knows you're uncomfortable with him." "That's not the same thing. You're obsessed with wording." "No. I'm concerned that your friends think I'm trying to isolate you." "If that's how you think your behavior sounds, maybe sit with that." That conversation stayed with me. Not only because it was unfair, but because Lena seemed completely comfortable letting other people believe a worse version of me. Still, the boxes kept getting packed. We had dinners on the floor, argued about whose dishes to keep, and made lists for the first grocery run after the move. We had also been talking more seriously about marriage. Lena didn't know I had bought a ring. It wasn't an enormous diamond or some dramatic custom piece. It was simple, elegant, and exactly the kind she had once pointed out in a jewelry store window before quickly pretending she had only been admiring the display. I hadn't planned a proposal yet. I just knew I wanted to ask after we had settled into the new place and built a routine that felt like ours. Then, 3 days before the lease walkthrough, I saw the text. It was early evening. I was standing at the kitchen counter checking the move-in list on my phone. Lena had gone to the bedroom to find packing tape. Her phone was beside the lease packet. The screen lit up with Caleb's name. "So he still doesn't know I'm helping you move after he signs?" I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. The entire preview sat there long enough for me to read it twice. Lena came back, carrying 2 rolls of tape. She saw my face, then followed my eyes to the phone. She moved quickly, snatching it off the counter. "What does after he signs mean?" I asked. She let out a short laugh that had no humor in it. "Seriously?" "Yes. It means Caleb offered to help move some heavy stuff." "Why would that wait until after I sign?" "Because I knew you'd make it a thing." "What exactly happens after I sign?" She put the tape down hard. "You're turning one text into a character trial because you can't handle that I had a life before you. I'm not asking about your past. I'm asking why your ex knows my signing date." "It's our signing date." "Then why does his message say after he signs?" Her expression tightened. For the first time, I saw that she wasn't embarrassed about making a mistake. She was irritated that I had found out before she intended to tell me. "He's helping with the move," she said. "That's all." "Does he know the address?" "Yes, because he's helping." "The truck schedule?" "Probably." "The deposit amount?" She looked away. "The storage code?" "No." "Was he going to get a key?" I already said no. That wasn't my question. Lena picked up her phone and folded her arms. "You're not nuking our future because I'm mature enough to have a past." I looked at the boxes around us. The unopened lease packet. The labels in Lena's handwriting. The framed picture of us wrapped in a bath towel because we had run out of newspaper. A week earlier, that room had looked like evidence that we were building something. Now it looked like staging. I didn't yell. I picked up the lease packet and slid it into my work bag. Then I added the holding deposit receipt and the envelope containing the spare key that had been sitting on the counter. Lena watched me. What are you doing? Pausing. You're being dramatic. No, I'm being early. I went to the bedroom, opened the back of my nightstand drawer, and took out the ring box. When I placed it in my bag, Lena's face changed. Benjamin. I zipped the bag. What's that? I need space to think. You bought a ring? I need space. Her voice sharpened. You don't get to flash a ring box at me like a threat. I didn't flash anything. I removed something I paid for from a drawer. Where are you going? To talk to someone who won't answer a direct question with an accusation. I left before anger could turn me into the person she had already described to her friends. I sat in my car for a few minutes with both hands on the wheel. My chest felt tight, but my thoughts were strangely clear. I called Owen. He had known me since college and had a gift for making emotional disasters sound like checklists. When I told him what happened, he didn't call Lena names. He didn't tell me to drive back and demand her phone. He asked, "Did you sign the lease?" No. Did she? I don't think either of us has. We were supposed to sign after the walkthrough. Is the deposit refundable? According to the paperwork, yes, until execution. There's a processing fee. Whose name is on the truck? Mine. Utilities? Mine. Transfers are scheduled, but not active. Storage unit? My account. Both of us have the code. Owen was quiet for a second. Do not go back and have a screaming match. I wasn't planning to. Good. Screaming matches become stories. Receipts become facts. Don't argue feelings with someone who is trying to trap logistics. Check what you're legally tied to. The word trap bothered me. I don't know if she was trying to trap me. Then verify before you decide. But don't sign anything while you're confused. After we hung up, I called Maya. She answered on the second ring and immediately asked, "What happened?" I gave her the short version. When I finished, I said, "Maybe I am overreacting." I knew they still talked. Did you agree to him helping with the move? No. Did you agree to him knowing your signing date and deposit details? No. Did you agree to him getting access to the apartment? No. Then what part are you insecure about? I don't want to be controlling. You don't have to prove you're secure by standing still while someone disrespects you. I leaned my head against the seat. She makes it sound like any boundary involving Caleb is jealousy. Secure doesn't mean silent, Maya said. It means you can walk away without begging to be picked. I spent that night at Owen's place. The next morning, I started making calls. First, I contacted the leasing office. Dana, the employee handling our file, confirmed that the lease had been prepared but not executed. If you have not signed, you are not obligated to proceed, she said. The holding deposit can be returned under the cancellation terms you received, less the processing charge. Can you send that in writing? Of course. I asked her not to issue keys or access credentials connected to me unless I signed in person. She sounded mildly surprised but stayed professional. I'll note that both applicants must independently confirm they are proceeding. Next, I canceled the moving truck. I was still inside the cancellation window, so I lost only a small reservation fee. I paused the electricity and internet transfers before activation. I emailed the insurance agent to cancel the pending renter's policy. Then I changed the storage unit access code. The unit was under my name and held mostly my furniture, tools, and boxes. Lena had a few items in it, so I did not lock her property away permanently. I asked the facility for a supervised pickup window and documented what belonged to her. None of it felt satisfying. It felt like dismantling a bridge while I was still standing on it. Around noon, Lena began texting. You really left over one message? I replied, I left because you would not explain what after he signs meant. She answered immediately. It meant I didn't want another exhausting fight before we finished the paperwork. I stared at that sentence. Did Caleb know he was helping before or after you asked me to sign? Her reply took several minutes. He offered weeks ago. I knew you would calm down once we were settled. Did he know the deposit amount? Why are you interrogating me? Did he know the storage code? No. Was he going to receive a key? I said no, Benjamin. That still wasn't an answer. I wrote, was he ever told he might receive one? She called instead of replying. I let it ring, then sent, "Please answer in writing." Her next message came in 3 parts. I told him he could possibly hold the spare because he lives nearby. "You made your feelings clear." So I dropped it. Then another message arrived. "But I wasn't going to let your insecurity derail the move when the deposit was already locked." That was the moment the issue changed for me. Until then, part of me had still been searching for an innocent explanation. Maybe Lena had avoided a conversation because she hated conflict. Maybe Caleb had offered help and phrased his message badly. Maybe I had misunderstood her timing. But the deposit was not locked. She either did not know that or expected me not to check. More importantly, she had treated the deposit as leverage. I saved the messages. I did not reply for almost an hour. Then I wrote, "The deposit is not locked. The lease isn't signed. I am not proceeding until I understand the full extent of Caleb's involvement." She called 6 times. I didn't answer. That afternoon, Priya messaged me again. "Lena is devastated. Canceling a move to punish her for having a friend is controlling, and showing her a ring just to take it away was cruel." I almost laughed at how efficiently the story had been rearranged. I sent Priya 3 screenshots. The first was Caleb's preview. "So he still doesn't know I'm helping you move after he signs?" The second was Lena's message. "I wasn't going to let your insecurity derail the move when the deposit was already locked." The third was an older text from me to Lena after the key argument. "I am not asking you to stop speaking to Caleb. I am asking that he not have a key, access code, financial information, or a role in decisions about our shared home." Under the screenshots, I wrote, "You can still think I'm wrong, but you should at least know what I actually asked for." Priya didn't respond that day. Lena did. She sent long messages about trust, emotional safety, punishment, and my refusal to communicate. Some of them almost worked on me because they used the language of a reasonable conversation. But every time I asked a factual question, she moved back to my character. Why did Caleb know the signing date? Because friends talk. Why did he think I did not know he was helping? Because you make everything difficult. Why did you tell him to wait until after I signed? Because I was trying to protect our future. Why did you tell Priya I wanted you to erase your past? That's how your behavior felt. She never answered the one question underneath all of them. Why did my consent matter less after my signature? Owen came over that evening with takeout. We sat at his kitchen table while I organized my receipts and confirmations. "You're not making a case for court," he said. "Don't turn this into a documentary." "I know." "Then keep only what establishes the timeline." I had the unsigned lease packet, the written withdrawal terms, the truck cancellation, the utility holds, the deposit receipt, Lena's messages, and my original boundary about the key. I also had a Venmo request Lena had sent for move-in split and furniture that included amounts Caleb apparently knew. I had not paid it yet. Owen looked at the request. "Do you think Caleb was getting money?" "No. I think she was telling him everything. That can be its own betrayal." I nodded. I didn't need to prove she was sleeping with him. I didn't even believe she was. The problem was worse in a quieter way. She had made Caleb part of our home before I had entered it, then planned to reveal his role after my money, belongings, and signature made it harder for me to leave. The walkthrough was scheduled for Friday morning. I could have canceled it entirely, but Dana had already confirmed that I could withdraw in person and receive documentation. Lena also had property mixed into the storage unit, and I wanted a neutral environment to settle access and paperwork. More than that, I suspected Lena intended to arrive with Caleb. I was right. I got there early. My car held only my own essentials: a suitcase, my laptop bag, the ring box, and a few documents. I had not loaded furniture because there was no truck coming. Dana met me outside the leasing office with a clipboard. "Before we start," she said, "I need to confirm whether both applicants are proceeding today. I'm here to formally withdraw." She nodded without changing expression. "I can note that. The other applicant may choose to submit a new application independently, subject to approval." Understood. We were still speaking when Lena pulled into the parking lot. Caleb was in the passenger seat. They got out together. Caleb carried 2 flattened boxes under one arm and a plastic container filled with packing supplies. Lena had 3 taped boxes in her trunk. She had brought him to the exact moment she knew I had objected to him entering. Caleb gave me a cautious smile. "Hey man." I looked at the boxes. "What are those?" "Kitchen stuff, I think. Lena said you were finally okay with me helping." "Okay with what exactly?" His smile disappeared. Lena shut her car door harder than necessary. Can we not do this in the parking lot? You brought him. He's helping me move. There is no move. She froze. Dana stepped slightly to the side, creating professional distance without leaving. Lena lowered her voice. Benjamin, don't make a scene. You brought the scene with you. Caleb looked between us. Lena told me you knew I'd be here. She told me you would help after I signed. Caleb frowned. She said you knew enough. She said you were mostly worried about the key. I said he would not have a key, access codes, financial information, or a role in our move. Lena cut in, and he isn't getting a key. This is insane. Dana spoke calmly. I just need to confirm who is signing today. Lena turned to me. We can discuss this upstairs. Privately. No. Her face went pale. Dana repeated, Are both applicants proceeding? I looked directly at her. No. I'm withdrawing. Dana made a note on the clipboard. All right. Access cannot be issued without completed paperwork. I'll process your withdrawal and the deposit disposition according to the terms in your file. Lena stared at me. You canceled our apartment? I withdrew from an unsigned lease. You knew I had nowhere else lined up. You knew I had not agreed to this. This? She gestured at Caleb. He is carrying boxes. That's the emergency. No. The emergency is that you planned to wait until after I signed because you thought the deposit would make me easier to manage. That is not what happened. I opened the messages on my phone. I asked you why he knew the signing date. You said you knew I would calm down once we were settled. I was trying to avoid another fight. You said the deposit was locked. It was an expression. It was leverage. Caleb set the packing supplies on the pavement. Hold on. You told me he was already committed. Lena looked at him. He was. No, I said. I was preparing to commit. That is not the same thing. She turned back to me. You're humiliating me because you're jealous. I'm not competing for a home. I was the only one building. You weren't the only one building it. Then why was your plan based on waiting until my signature made it harder for me to leave? Lena opened her mouth, but no answer came. I didn't pull out every screenshot or hand my phone around like evidence in a trial. I only showed Caleb the one message that concerned him and gave Dana the written withdrawal confirmation, as it was relevant to the paperwork. Caleb read the text he had sent, then looked at Lena. You said he knew I was helping after the walkthrough. He knew you offered. I did not, I said. Caleb rubbed the back of his neck. What about the key? Lena's voice became sharp. There is no key. Can everyone stop saying key? You told me it might make sense for me to keep one, Caleb said. That landed in the silence between us. I had suspected it. Hearing him confirm it still hurt. Lena looked at him with open anger. I said it once, before Benjamin turned it into a federal case. Caleb stepped back. You also said he knew enough. Lena laughed once, bitterly. Oh, now you care about boundaries. Caleb's face hardened. He wasn't innocent. He had enjoyed being included. He had known I was uncomfortable and still agreed to step into the move after I signed. But he also seemed to realize that Lena had fed him a version where my consent was inconvenient rather than absent. He picked up the 2 boxes he had been carrying and placed them beside Lena's car. I'm not getting in the middle of this. You are already in the middle of it, she said. Because you put me there. He looked at me. I'm not saying I handled this right. I'm not asking you to. I thought you knew more than you did. You knew enough to ask whether I knew. He nodded once. That was the closest thing to an apology I expected from him. I said, any money, belongings, or arrangements are between you and Lena. Do not contact me after today. Understood. Lena looked from him to me as if she could not believe both men had stopped following the roles she assigned us. Then she noticed the absence of the truck. Where is the moving truck? Cancelled. Her eyes widened. You canceled it? It was in my name. What about the electricity? Paused before activation. The internet. Same. The storage unit? I changed the code on my account. Your items are available through a supervised pickup window. You left me stranded. No. I stopped supplying a move I was no longer part of. She lowered her voice again, but the polish was gone. You're punishing me. I'm removing commitments that depended on trust. What am I supposed to do with all my things? Make arrangements. You said you loved me. I did. That was the first moment my calm almost broke. I had pictured asking her to marry me. I had pictured the 2 of us drinking coffee among unpacked boxes, arguing over where to hang pictures, and laughing about the ugly lamp she refused to throw away. I had not wanted this outcome. But wanting a future did not make the future real. I'm not signing, I said. I'm not moving in, and I'm not continuing the relationship. Lena stared at me for several seconds. Then she turned to Dana. Can I still take the apartment? Dana remained neutral. You may submit updated financial information and proceed independently if you qualify. I cannot guarantee approval today. Lena looked at me again. You already knew that. I knew I could withdraw. You planned this whole performance. No, you planned the timing. I checked the paperwork. Dana asked us to step into the office one at a time to finalize the withdrawal records. My portion took less than 10 minutes. I signed a statement confirming that I was not executing the lease. Dana emailed me a copy before I left. She explained that the holding deposit would be refunded according to the written terms and that the application processing charge would not be returned. I accepted that. Losing a small fee was cheaper than signing a lease with someone who treated my signature as a trapdoor. When I walked back outside, Caleb was gone. Lena sat in her car with the door open, staring at her phone. The boxes remained on the pavement beside her rear tire. She stood when she saw me. Can we talk without an audience? We've talked. No, you asked questions like a lawyer and made decisions without me. I asked simple questions. You refused to answer them until I started canceling things. I was scared you would leave. So you waited until you thought I couldn't. Her face crumpled for a second. Then the anger returned. That's not fair. It's accurate. You're throwing away 2 years. I'm refusing to sign away another one. She stepped closer. What about the ring? It stays with me. So that was never real? It was real when I believed we were building the same life. She looked as if she wanted to say something cutting, but she stopped. I left. The next few days were quiet in the practical sense and loud in every other way. Lena left voicemails. Some were angry. Some were tearful. Some sounded almost reasonable. In one, she said, "You took everything away without giving me a chance to fix it." In another, she said, "Caleb means nothing compared to you, which is why this is so ridiculous." That sentence told me she still believed the conflict was about ranking 2 men. It wasn't. I did not need Caleb to mean less. I needed our agreements to mean more. I replied once, in writing. I withdrew from commitments I had not signed and services in my name. I will discuss reimbursements and property pickup in writing only. Please do not contact me through Caleb or ask others to contact me on your behalf. She sent back, "You are so cold." I did not answer. I itemized every shared expense. I deducted Lena's documented contributions from the amount I had paid. I included copies of receipts and explained which fees were refundable, which were not, and which charges never went through. I did not inflate anything or demand payment for gifts. The holding deposit refund came back to me because I had paid it. I sent Lena the portion she had contributed toward it, even though Owen said I could probably make her chase me for it. I didn't want revenge that required dishonesty. The truck reservation fee was mine to absorb because the reservation had been in my name. The pending furniture transfer was canceled. The storage facility gave Lena a 2-hour supervised window to collect her belongings. Maya came with me, mostly to keep me from getting pulled into another circular conversation. Lena arrived 20 minutes late. She looked exhausted. Her hair was tied back, and she wore the old sweatshirt she used for painting and moving furniture. For a moment, seeing her like that hurt more than the confrontation. We had once spent an entire Sunday assembling a shelf backward, then refused to fix it because we thought the mistake gave it character. Now we stood beside stacked bins while a storage employee checked item numbers against my list. Lena looked at Maya. "Can I have 1 minute alone with him?" Maya looked at me. I shook my head. Lena gave a bitter smile. "Of course. I'm not doing another private conversation where my boundary gets renamed as insecurity. I know I messed up." I waited. She looked down at the box in her hands. "I should have told you Caleb was helping. That's part of it. I should not have discussed the deposit with him. Also part of it. I didn't cheat on you. I never accused you of cheating. Then why does this feel like I did? Because you knew honesty might change my decision, so you delayed honesty until you thought my decision wouldn't matter." She blinked hard. "That sounds awful when you say it like that. It was awful when you did it." Maya shifted beside me, but said nothing. Lena put the box into her car. "Caleb isn't speaking to me. That's between you and him. Priya is barely speaking to me. That's between you and Priya. So you just get to walk away clean? No, I get to walk away hurt. For once, she had no polished response. She collected the rest of her things and left. That evening, Priya messaged me. I didn't know about the key, the deposit comments, or the plan to wait until after signing. Lena told me you wanted her to cut off anyone she had history with. I should have asked more questions. I don't think you were wrong to refuse the lease. It wasn't a dramatic apology, but it was enough. I replied, thank you for saying that. I'm not interested in turning anyone against her. I just needed the story corrected. Priya answered, understood. I later heard through Maya, who heard through someone else, that Lena did not qualify for the apartment on her own. I never verified the details because I didn't want updates about her life. What I knew directly was that she had to arrange another move, pay for her own truck, restart the housing search, and cover services without my accounts attached. Those were not punishments I created. They were the normal costs she expected me to keep carrying after she violated the agreement underneath them. For a while, I kept the ring box in the back of a drawer. Not as a trophy, not as proof that I had almost won or that Lena had lost something. I kept it because I wasn't ready to look at it, sell it, return it, or decide what it meant. Eventually, I took it back to the jeweler. The clerk asked whether there had been a sizing problem. No, I said. Timing problem. He didn't ask anything else. I wasn't perfect in that relationship. I waited too long to say when something felt wrong. I apologized for reasonable boundaries because I was afraid of being labeled insecure. I confused patience with maturity, and I let Lena turn specific questions into debates about my character. But when the truth became clear, I did not beg her to choose me. I did not threaten Caleb, search her phone, expose private messages online, damage property, or sign a lease out of panic. I checked what I was actually obligated to do. Then I stopped. Lena's last message came about 2 weeks after the storage pickup. Are you really canceling our future over one text? I looked at it for a long time before replying. No, I canceled it because the text proved I was never the only one building it. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.